The voicemail from my father wasn't a request, it was a declaration of war against my bank account, and this time I decided to surrender by disappearing. My name is Eleanor Vance. And the feeling of your soul detaching, floating up to watch your life from the ceiling? I can map that exact moment to a Thursday evening in the staff lot of St. Agnes Medical. It was the kind of cold that felt intentional, a personal affront from the Michigan winter. The wind off Lake Serene didn't just bite, it chewed, stripping any warmth left from a 12-hour shift spent denying coverage claims. My brain was static. All I craved was the silent sanctuary of my apartment. Then my pocket buzzed. I didn't need to look. The specific vibration was a conditioned trigger. Dad. 3 letters on the screen, a life sentence in a notification. In a heartbeat, the 35-year-old professional vanished. I was 8, having spilled juice on the good rug, awaiting the lecture detailing my fundamental carelessness. My shoulders crawled toward my ears. The body's memory is a ruthless archivist. I swiped to answer. Ellie. It wasn't a greeting, it was a deployment order. Robert Vance did not inquire about my day. He spoke with the detached precision of a man reading a stock report. Christmas is here. The final headcount is 32. You'll manage it. And Eleanor, he paused, letting the weight of the next words land. It needs to be impeccable. I stood frozen, the phone a block of ice against my ear. 32, last year, 25. The year before, 18. The guest list metastasized, the sole infrastructure, me, remained static. 32, I echoed, my voice a faint crack in the frigid air. The entire Carter branch is confirmed, he continued as if I hadn't spoken. Your cousin brought her new fiancé. This is a statement event, no paper products. I want linen, crystal, the full aesthetic. For the main course, we're doing a standing rib roast. Source it from that specialty butcher you found. And the wine list needs curation, nothing pedestrian. He paused, not for my input, but to let the instructions set like plaster. The house must be guest-ready by the 23rd. I won't have a repeat of last year's dust on the crown moulding. There had been no dust. I'd spent a Saturday with a toothbrush on that moulding because he'd remarked the afternoon light showed grime. Facts were irrelevant in the empire of Robert Vance. The word no burned, acrid, on my tongue. But the old script, worn smooth from decades of playback, drowned it out. If I refused, I knew the sequence. The sigh of profound disappointment, the calls to my aunt, the text barrage branding me the selfish wrecking ball of family tradition. The cage wasn't metal, it was crafted from the fear of becoming their designated villain. So, I swallowed the fire in my throat. All right, I heard myself say. I'll handle it. Good, he said, devoid of gratitude. And salt the driveway well before arrival. I don't want a liability. The line died, I lowered the phone. The lot lights hummed a toxic yellow. And somewhere deep inside, a cable, one that had tethered me to his approval for 3 decades, snapped. It wasn't dramatic. It was a quiet, final severance. The tension that defined my orbit around him simply dissolved. I got in my car. My hands trembled, but not from cold. As I drove, I did the mental math. The roast, 700. The wine, 500. The flowers, the rented china, the last-minute essential artisan olives. We were looking at $2,500, my money, my savings for a reliable car, for a deposit on a place that felt like mine. Robert wouldn't contribute. He'd wave a hand. Don't be crass, Eleanor. Family isn't a transaction. I pulled into my apartment lot, my space, my quiet. My cat, Mochi, wound around my ankles, his purr a demand for nothing but affection. I dropped my keys. My gaze snagged on the closet door, slightly ajar. There, peeking out, was the corner of my suitcase. A large grey case bought for a trip to Portugal that never happened because Dad had needed support during a minor surgery. I stared. My body understood before my mind. I didn't remove my coat. I walked over, gripped the handle and pulled it out. It thudded on the floor. My phone chimed. A text. Dad. 32 confirmed. Make it reflect well on us. I read it. Make it reflect well on us. The mission statement of my life. Be invisible, be impeccable, burn your resources so Robert Vance could bask in the reflected glow. I looked at the suitcase. I wasn't packing to go early and clean. I unzipped the main compartment. The sound was decisive, a line being drawn. I wasn't trying to teach him a lesson. Men like him don't learn. They only register inconvenience. I was choosing for the first time to exist in a reality where my limits mattered. I was done building a stage for someone else to stand on. I began to pack. A thick sweater, jeans, boots. As I folded, my finger caught on a crumpled receipt in a pocket. I didn't need to see it. Milk, bread, a cheap Pinot Grigio. But the feel of the paper triggered a memory avalanche. It didn't start as indentured servitude. That was the tragedy. It began with love. 6 years ago, Mom died in the fall. The grief in my childhood home was a physical presence, thick and silencing. Dad was a ghost. That first Christmas, I stepped in. I bought the tree, cooked her recipes, wrapped gifts. I did it to fill the terrifying quiet. That night, he'd hugged me, wept, said I'd saved him. My aunt called me the family anchor. I wore that title like a medal, but grief recedes and routines harden. The second year, the call wasn't a plea, it was a calendar alert. The Carters arrive at 5, hors d'oeuvres for 20 by 4:30. I'd been confused. We're doing the big dinner again? Obviously, he'd snapped. It's tradition. Tradition. The word became the lock on my shackles. The definition of impeccable inflated like a luxury balloon I was expected to fill with my own breath and money. Linen napkins, specific imported cheeses, floral arrangements that died in days. And I paid. Every December, my accounts hemorrhaged. Why? I was terrified of the pause. The moment the bill arrived and all eyes drifted to the ceiling. I was petrified of Aunt Lydia's arched eyebrow, her silent judgment on a subpar vintage. I was paralysed by being labelled cheap. Robert weaponized that pride. 2 years back, I dared to ask, up to my elbows in sudsy water. Dad, the costs are significant this year. Maybe everyone could contribute? He'd sighed, the sound designed to shrink me. Ellie, family doesn't keep score. It's vulgar. Focus on the joy of giving. The joy never came. What returned was the erasure. Last Christmas was a high-definition humiliation. The house glowed. Aromas I created filled the air. Robert stood, tapping his crystal glass. I just want to thank you all for coming, he boomed. Providing this warmth for our family means everything. I wanted perfection for you all. Hear, hear, Uncle Charles cheered. Robert, the beef is sublime, Aunt Lydia purred. Where was I? In the kitchen extracting blistering hot popovers from the oven, sweat tracing my spine. When I finally emerged to refill a pitcher, Aunt Clara tittered. Look at her, always in motion. Ellie just adores being busy, don't you? They'd recast my servitude as a charming personality quirk. If I adored it, no help was required. No thanks were owed. My labour had been colonised. My best serving platter, my Dutch oven, my wine glasses, all were permanent residents of his house. Hollow Manor had annexed the useful parts of my life. I needed proof. I opened my laptop, pulled up 5 years of December statements. The graph was a series of cardiac arrests, flat lines punctuated by massive yearly spikes. Year 1, $750. Year 2, $1,300. Year 3, $1,900. Year 4, $2,300, the year the furnace died before guests arrived. Year 5, $2,700, total over $9,000. That was a semester of grad school, a down payment, my security. My anger clarified, turning cold and sharp. I needed a witness. I called my best friend Sonia. Aren't you supposed to be brining a small mammal by now? She answered. He called, I said. 32 people, upscale. My wallet, my labour. 0 offers to contribute. Silence. Then, so, what role are you auditioning for this year, Ellie? The martyred caterer or the bankrupt daughter? Her question was a mirror. Neither, I said, stronger. Good, Sonia replied. Then what's the plan? Because a no-show gets you a wellness check from the police. I'm changing the venue, I said. Mine. Before she could ask, a new text chimed. Aunt Clara. So grateful you're orchestrating again, sweetheart. We all rest easy knowing you're at the helm. XOXO. I read the subtext. We are lazy. You carry the anxiety. If it fails, it's your fault. Weaponized gratitude, a trap. Clara just texted. We rest easy. Sonia groaned. The worst. They're thanking you in advance, so refusal makes you the monster. Don't step in it. I'm not, I said, conviction solidifying. I hung up. The silence in my apartment was now a war room's quiet focus. I opened a notebook. If a holiday collapses because one person refuses to be the staff, it was never a holiday. It was a hostage situation. I wrote a new header. Asset recovery. It was time for a heist of my own property. I grabbed a duffel bag. The clock read 4:30 a.m. when I idled outside Hollow Manor. The world was monochrome and silent. I killed the engine, moved to the kitchen door. My key, the one I'd paid to cut, turned smoothly. I stepped into the familiar scent of wood polish and stale coffee. From upstairs, the rumble of his snore. I worked under the dim cabinet lights. From the pantry, the saffron, the aged balsamic, the artisan crackers. From the liquor cabinet, the single malt scotch, the 6 bottles of Cabernet Sauvignon. From the fridge, the heritage bacon, the triple creme brie, the jumbo shrimp. I left his instant coffee, his cheap vodka, his block of generic cheddar. I was resetting the house to its default settings. The Robert Vance basic package. In the dining room, I stripped the partially set table, my grandmother's linens, my silver chargers. I carried it all to a storage closet, placed it inside, and clicked a new padlock I'd bought on the latch. Assets frozen. Back in the kitchen, I called and cancelled the cleaning service, removing my card from the account. Then on my banking app, I found the family emergency credit card he carried. I didn't cancel it. I lowered its spending limit to $100, enough for pizza, not enough for a caterer. Finally, I placed his spare key on the island. On top, a note. I am not cooking, I am not cleaning, I am not funding. Have the Christmas you've earned. I took my heavy duffel, exited into the dawn, and drove away. As I merged onto the highway, I waited for the guilt. It didn't come. Instead, a profound lightness, as if I'd shrugged off a weighted coat I didn't know I was wearing. I turned my phone on miles later. The bombardment began. Missed calls, texts. 6:18 a.m. Where are you? The coffee maker is empty. 6:45 a.m. This isn't funny. 7:20 a.m. I've opened the refrigerator. Where's the food? 7:50 a.m. The cleaning service isn't answering. The house is a disaster. What am I supposed to do? I scanned for concern. Not a single, "Are you okay?" Just a ledger of his inconveniences. The profound sadness was a dull ache. He wasn't worried about his daughter. He was worried about his event manager. I pulled into the Seacliff Inn, a worn but clean hotel 3 hours north. I checked into a beige, beautiful room where no expectations lived. As I sat on the bed, my cousin Derek texted, "Heads up. Flight cancelled, driving in. We'll be at your dad's tonight." Panic flared, white hot. The rescue reflex screamed. I can still fix it. I stood, keys in hand, halfway to the door, and stopped. I made my fingers uncurl. The keys clattered to the dresser. No. Let them arrive. Let them see it. I walked out to the pier. Let the brutal lake wind push against me. The resistance felt like truth. My phone rang. An unknown local number. I answered. Eleanor Vance. The voice was crisp, authoritative. Marla Carter, Robert's sister-in-law, the family's de facto judge, the woman whose approval he coveted above all. "I'm standing in your father's kitchen," she stated, "and I have a question." The lobby fireplace crackled. "I'm listening, Marla." "Your father is narrating a compelling story. He says you're having a breakdown, that you became overwhelmed by simple requests and abandoned him. He's casting himself as the bewildered victim of your instability." "He's lying," I said, my voice steady. "I suspected. But to stop this, I need facts. He says he provides, you organise. Who pays for the standing rib roast, Eleanor? Who pays for the wine?" I looked out at the snow. The truth was a stone I'd carried for years. It was time to drop it. "I do, Marla. I pay for everything. The food, the wine, the cleaning, the linens. He provides the address. I have 5 years of bank statements. He knows." A long, weighted silence. "So we've been applauding the waiter for a meal the chef bought," she said, her voice turning to frost. "Stay at your hotel. Order room service. Do not come here. Do not save him. If you save him now, you save him forever. Let him fall." It's the only way he learns gravity exists. I sat, suspended. Minutes ticked by. A text from Derek. Marla just walked in. Asked Dad in front of everyone who exactly pays for the food every year because it clearly isn't him. Room is dead silent. He's bright red. Dude, he is cooked. I exhaled a decade of dust. The truth was out. A public fact. I ordered a burger and a glass of house Cabernet to my room. I ate it alone, in peace, paying my own tab. It was the most luxurious meal of my life. Back at Hollow Manor, through text and a shell-shocked call from Aunt Clara later, I pieced together the fallout. Marla, the HR director, conducted a forensic audit in the living room. When Robert tried his "she enjoys it" defense, Marla dismantled it. Hosting is labor. Generosity is not an obligation you assign. Aunt Clara, crumbling, admitted she'd seen me at checkout years ago, but looked away. The illusion shattered. They ordered pizza. Derek sent a photo. The majestic table buried under grease-stained boxes, people actually laughing. The caption, "Honestly, best Christmas Eve in years." I returned to Hollow Manor after New Year's. He answered the door in sweats, deflated. We sat at the kitchen table. "Marla enjoyed her inquisition," he muttered. "She asked a question you couldn't answer," I said. I laid out new terms. No guest list without consent, no funding from me, no labour from me, an end to the perfect pretense. He looked at the empty, honest refrigerator. "What if I can't do it?" he whispered, truly vulnerable. "I don't know how. Your mother did. Then you did." "Then let it be simple," I said. "Or let it be a disaster, but it won't be my disaster." We ordered Thai delivery. I didn't cook. He paid for his half. We ate amidst the lingering mess, watching a game. It was the most honest meal we'd ever shared. 11 months later, December 25th, a smaller group, a potluck table. And in the kitchen, Robert Vance, apron on, squinting at a recipe for au gratin potatoes. "What does fold in the cheese mean?" he grumbled. I sat on a stool in a velvet dress, holding wine I'd brought. He served his slightly burnt, slightly runny creation. "It might be terrible," he announced. Marla took a bite. "It's crunchy." Everyone laughed, warm and forgiving. He laughed too, sitting in the mess, looking more like a father than a patriarch ever could. He caught my eye across the table, raised his glass. "Merry Christmas, Ellie," he mouthed. "Merry Christmas, Dad," I said back. I didn't have to make him look good anymore. He was finally learning to stand on his own. Thank you for listening to my story. If you've ever felt like the family's designated fixer, I hope this resonated with you. I'd love to know where you're listening from. Are you in Toronto, Tokyo, or Cape Town? Tell me in the comments below. If this story meant something to you, please like this video and subscribe to Night of Revenge for more journeys like this. Your support helps these stories reach others who need to hear them. Until next time, remember, your peace is not a price to be paid for someone else's holiday.